The notification arrived at 5,041 in the morning. 11,500 euros, wine service. Approved. I lay still for a few seconds, the blue light from my phone painting the ceiling. My apartment was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. Outside, rain tapped against the balcony railing. I already knew whose dinner I had just paid for. 3 days earlier, my mother had mailed me a postcard instead of calling. The picture on the front showed a narrow Italian street washed in golden afternoon light. On the back, in her careful handwriting, she'd written only one sentence: family only, nothing else. No explanation for why my parents, my brother, my sister, their spouses, and the grandchildren were spending 2 weeks in Italy without me. No, we'll miss you. No, maybe next time. Just those 2 words followed by her name. The postcard stayed tucked inside my old leather planner, the one I'd carried since my first promotion. I couldn't throw it away, though I wasn't sure why. Then the expenses started. 6 first-class airline tickets, 2 luxury hotel suites overlooking the coast, private drivers, boutique shopping, cooking classes. Every charge landed on the corporate travel account linked to my executive card. Not my personal account, my company's. At first I assumed there had been some mistake. My finance department checked twice. The reservations had been booked using the emergency credentials my parents still had from years ago, back when I'd occasionally arranged business travel for them after conferences overseas. No one had updated those permissions because no one imagined they'd ever be used like this. I stared at the growing list of transactions longer than I cared to admit. The money wasn't the problem. The assumption was. Growing up, I had always been useful, reliable enough to solve problems, responsible enough to pay deposits, successful enough to rescue family plans whenever something became expensive. I wasn't the favorite child. I was the dependable one. It took me years to understand those weren't the same thing. At the office, people trusted me because I'd earned it. At home, people expected me because I'd allowed it. Those are very different currencies. Do you want us to stop future transactions? My finance director Evelyn asked quietly. She never sounded dramatic. She simply placed the printed expense report beside my coffee. I skimmed another page. A handwritten hotel note had been scanned with one receipt. Your family requested the private terrace again tomorrow evening. Your family. I almost laughed. Evelyn waited. What does company policy say? I asked. She already knew I wasn't asking for emotional advice. Personal expenses charged without authorization must be reversed immediately. And if they're relatives? The policy doesn't recognize relatives. Neither, I realized, had the postcard. I signed the authorization. No speeches, no anger, just my signature beneath a paragraph of ordinary corporate language. The reversals happened automatically. The airline reclaimed the upgrades. The hotels requested new payment. Luxury purchases failed. Restaurant authorizations disappeared one after another. No one was humiliated. Businesses simply followed procedure. I spent the evening working through quarterly reports. Around midnight, I opened my leather planner to check a meeting schedule. The postcard slipped onto the desk. Beside it rested a small brass luggage tag I'd kept for years. It had belonged to my grandfather. Whenever we traveled as children, he insisted every suitcase carried the same tag because, as he used to say, no one gets left behind. After he died, I kept one. I ran my thumb across the scratched metal until the edges felt warm. Then I closed the planner. At 6,003 the next morning, my phone exploded with notifications. 27 missed calls. 34 messages. My brother first, call me. Then my sister, the hotel says the payment failed. Then my mother, what happened? Not one message asked why I'd done it. Only how quickly I could fix it. I answered my father's call. For several seconds neither of us spoke. Finally he cleared his throat. There must be some misunderstanding. I don't think there is. We're stranded. No, I said softly. You're inconvenienced. Another silence. The company card belongs to the company. We're family. I looked toward the rain sliding down the window. I read the postcard. He didn't answer. I wasn't family then. His breathing changed slightly. I suppose, he began before stopping. That unfinished sentence said more than anything else could have. Later that afternoon, my younger sister called, not to argue, to apologize. She admitted she'd assumed I'd agreed to pay. When she learned I hadn't even been invited, she'd felt sick. But everyone was excited, she whispered. I didn't want to ruin it. I believed her. Silence can hurt people almost as much as cruelty. The following week, our auditors completed their review. Everything had been handled exactly as policy required, no exceptions. No ethical concerns. The board thanked me for protecting company assets, even when doing so was personally uncomfortable. It wasn't a victory. It was simply the right thing. Nearly a month passed before another envelope appeared in my mailbox. No return address. Inside, wrapped carefully in white tissue paper, lay my grandfather's brass luggage tag, not mine. The matching one that had disappeared years ago. There was no letter, no apology, no explanation, just the tag. I turned it over in my hand, noticing a new scratch near the buckle. Someone had carried it recently. I placed it inside the leather planner beside the postcard. Then, after looking at both for a long while, I removed the postcard. It was the first time I'd touched it without feeling the weight in my chest. The luggage tag stayed. Some things deserve to be remembered. Others only need to be understood once. That morning, I walked into the office carrying the same planner I'd carried for years. It wasn't any lighter. Neither was I. But for the first time in a very long time, I wasn't carrying people who had already decided to leave me behind.